time zone, so I'm gonna get started here. So welcome everybody. I'm Karen Chappell. I'm director of the School of Cities and professor of geography and planning at the University of Toronto. Also professor emerita of city and regional planning at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm really happy to be welcoming you to our information session for our new offering, which is called the Workshop in Urban Data Storytelling, or WUDS. So this is our first webinar. It's our chance to explain what we're doing and get your questions. Also, anything on your mind about what this program's about. We will have lots of time for Q&A at the end of this 25-minute session. So we are broadcasting today from Toronto. So the University of Toronto sits on the land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And we are always grateful for the opportunity to work on this land, as we are the School of Cities, the School of Places. We are dealing with many issues about land and property rights and property systems and stewardship of land and places. And that's really what the workshop is all about. And so we always find it appropriate to start with that land acknowledgement. So I'm going to go ahead and start into some information about the Workshop in Urban Data Storytelling. What we're going to do today is sort of tell you what we do at WUDS and at the School of Cities and the EDIT program. We'll have an overview of the program and how we've organized it. We'll introduce you to the instructors. We'll tell you a little bit about how you can apply, and then we want to have 10 minutes or even 15 left for Q&A if we can. So I will talk fast so we have a chance to take your questions. And you are muted right now. We're asking you to stay on mute until the Q&A period. You can ask chat questions at any time, though. Anything that occurs to you, just throw it in the chat. And we're happy to accumulate your questions and then answer them once we open it up, or take them during the Q&A. So we're going to share this slide deck at the end. We also are recording this, so we share the Zoom recording just with the registered participants for the webinar, just so you know. So urban data storytelling. What are we talking about when we talk about urban data storytelling? Well, what we are doing in our work, and we do this all the time at the School of Cities, and we've been working on this with communities around the US and Canada on this. We take data, we do a deep dive into data, and we use it particularly in visual form to create compelling narratives about cities and places. So the goal here is, and what the folks we work with are really interested in change. They're really interested in persuasion, changing people's minds, having impact on the ground. So the idea is that very often as researchers, we do a lot of data analysis that is really speaking only to ourselves. And what we need to be able to do to reach a broader audience is to convert that data into stories and into narratives. And we do that primarily through different kinds of data visualization. And it's really about finding ways to communicate with specific audiences, whether your audience is a set of funders, whether it's a set of community members, whether it's other government agencies in your city, all different types of audience. But really the idea is that you want to come up with compelling images of what could be, of the future that cities could have, in order to build consensus around change. So here are a couple examples of work we've done with communities in recent years. This is some work we did in East Greensboro, North Carolina, with a set of community groups who were interested in understanding food deserts. And so they were working in the community in the East, which is shaded here. What they were interested in is understanding where those community members were shopping for food. Where were they going? And so we created this map that showed all the food establishments in the city and helped them figure out where the residents were actually shopping, and they were shopping where those big dots were. So it turned out that they were headed primarily to the big cheap stores like Walmart to do their grocery shopping, and not so much to local convenience stores or other types of healthy grocery stores. So this was a very powerful map for them to see. That was a story they wanted to tell. This is another story we worked on with a set of suburbs west of Chicago. And what was interesting about this group of suburbs is that they were wanting to work with each other on climate change issues. But there wasn't even a map that had this group of suburbs. So we created a base map with them. We figured out who should be on the map. And then we wanted to be able to tell a story about how that selected group of communities were connected to each other. So we used data on jobs and housing to show where people live and where people work, and showed all the interconnections between these communities. It was a quite simple analysis, a very simple device, but a very powerful way of saying, hey, these communities are not 11 isolated places, but rather they are connected in intricate ways to form a whole regional labor market and housing market. One more story example I'll give you. This is some work we did with downtown Halifax, the Halifax Business Commission. And so Halifax, like many downtowns, has been trying to tell a story of its comeback. It wants people to realize that Halifax is a place where a lot of people want to be. They put together a slide here, which I thought was quite powerful. On the left was a trend of visitors to downtown Halifax, and you can see that huge drop off at the beginning of the pandemic, and then it gradually climbs back up with some seasonal variation. So they're able to show here, hey guys, we're back. And in fact, looking at data for a number of different cities, they were able to show they are in the positive in terms of coming back. Year over year activity is up in the green and the negative in the red. It's a table, it's a data viz that they made, I thought, quite effectively. So those are some examples of what we mean when we're talking about storytelling with data. And now I'm going to move into some discussion of what the program is that we have laid out. So the WUDS is a training program. It's condensed, it's in-depth. It's essentially 30 hours roughly of training. And it's designed for a variety of folks. We work with kind of mid-career professionals all the way down to people just out of school, whether it's undergraduate or graduate program, that are just starting in the workplace and want to have better data visualization, data storytelling skills. So what our goal is here is to help you leverage data analysis, data storytelling, to advance some local project that you are engaged with in some way or interested in. It may be a passion project for you. What we do is kind of work with you through a whole process, and we've sort of simplified this into 5 steps, and we like to go in this order, but we don't always go exactly in this order. We like to start with the audience. We like to figure out who you really want to tell your story to, or to persuade, or to get on board. And then we work with you to kind of build your story, to figure out what's a good kind of arc for the narrative that you want to tell. And once you have that story in place, you go and dig up your data and figure out what's the data that I can actually identify that will fit the story that I have. And this is where we're a little different from how other folks work, I think, because very often people start from the data and have data-driven kinds of stories rather than solution or goal-driven stories. So we want to make sure that you get in mind first what you want to end up with, and then go to your data. So you'll identify your data sources, and we can help you with that. We love data at the School of Cities. And then you'll analyze your data and create some form of data visualization with it. So the goal of the course, at the end of the course, you'll have a presentation that will demonstrate your storytelling skills and your data skills at once. So it's a very applied workshop. We want you to come out with a useful product at the end. So WUDS is part of the EDIT, Equitable Development Data Insight Training Initiative. You can learn about more if you haven't been to our website at equitabledev.org. We have we generally do at the heart of our program is a coaching program where we work with cities intensively. We're offering this at the School Cities jointly with UC Berkeley, and we're supported in part by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which got us started and rolling on the program. So who are you? Well, we're thinking that you will be a curious individual or a team already established, a couple people or more that are already working together on a project. We're happy to welcome teams. We're looking for a variety of different types of city builders. Many will come from urban planning, some will come from more policy fields, and we also end up working often with people from real estate or people from law or people in different city departments, public works, and so forth. So you may be working already in the profession, you may be just on the path to joining the profession, and we just want to make sure that you're interested and passionate about using data in your work. So there are two versions of the WUDS program. You can read more about this again on our website. We had talked to folks that some wanted to be completely in Toronto in person, some wanted to have less time in person and a more extended time period. So we designed two programs. So the hybrid version is the one that is basically 4 weeks beforehand in May. That's virtual, where you're working with classes that are asynchronous. You're working on your own and maybe getting some feedback from us, but basically you're prepping your project for when you actually come in person, and we'll do a more intensive discussion in person about your data story and how you can deliver it most effectively. The in-person version is a 5-day workshop where you get more of those technical skills on site, and you're working intensively on a project. We suspect there'll be some questions about which version is right for you. So in the hybrid version is really, in our mind, we're thinking about it, somebody that wants more flexibility with their schedule, that doesn't have that much time to come to Toronto, can only come for a couple days. It's for people that like working on their own and want to kind of are comfortable being kind of self-taught with technical skills. There won't be any kind of coding or data processing skills taught in the there won't be any advanced coding taught in the hybrid version, just more sort of basic data processing and GIS. And we're expecting the hybrid group to have their own projects. So you're going to come in and say, I have this I want to work on. And please give me some help and training. The in-person version is fully synchronous. You're interacting with the team all the time for a week. You get a deeper dive into the technical skills, including some Python. And you don't need to bring a project if you like. We will provide you some data and a project to work on, just so that you have something to dig into during the course of the workshop. And that might be a transit planning project, or a housing project, or some sort of open space project. We have a variety of ideas for that. The instructor team, we have me as the faculty director. We have two terrific data analysts. Dr. Jeff Allen, who's a very noted cartographer, is our data lead, and Julia Greenberg is our the other data teacher, data storytelling teacher. And the course managers, Evelyn and Michelle. Did you guys want to say hi? Just introduce yourself briefly.
Everyone, I'm Evelyn St. Louis, and I will be available to answer any questions. We'll have office hours as well available, so you'd be meeting either with me or Michelle if you need any kind of additional information at any point, and I'll pass it over to Michelle.
Thank you. I'm Michelle. Great to see a lot of people from the GTA here. I was pretty much almost born and definitely raised in Toronto, and have been at U of T for quite a while. So happy to see everyone here.
Great, thank you. So how do you apply? We've designed a simple application process. It's a form, takes 10 or 15 minutes to complete. If you're a team, each team member should complete their own application, and we just ask you a few simple questions. It's really about to understand what your project is, so we can think about how we can help you, what your data skills are, so we're just sure that we're able to help you at the right level for you. And then if you do want to request some sort of scholarship, bursary, a need-based discount, you'll have some extra information. The fee is 875 Canadian dollars, and you will pay for your own travel and lodging to come. We have set up an early bird discount. If you apply by tomorrow, and if you miss that deadline for some reason, you can just email Michelle and ask her if it's possible to extend it. We might be able to extend it. But we also have the bursaries and need-based discounts available for those who are eligible. And these are if you are a student or a low-income individual or working for a nonprofit. Those are the types of need-based discounts that we are thinking to offer. And you pay once you're accepted into the program. You'll need to pay shortly thereafter. So next steps, here's how you apply. The URL is right there on our website, equitabledev.org. If you want more information, you can get a one-on-one meeting with our program leads. The URL to book a meeting is here, also on the website. And you can also email info@equitabledev.org. And we're going to be settling registration by April 4th. So it will be, you'll know by then your next steps. So any questions? I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other, and I can collect any questions. And Michelle, are there any questions in the chat that I should be answering?
Yes, we got some questions about sort of the balance between storytelling and data skills, and what percentage is which across the two versions.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very interesting question, and I would say, and you guys can jump in too, Evelyn, Michelle. I think the in-person 5-day version in Toronto is basically 50-50. It might even be slightly more on the technical skills side, like 60-40. And then the hybrid version would be probably a little bit more on the storytelling side, less time really digging into to really dig into how to use GIS or that sort of thing. So that maybe it's a little bit more like 40% data analysis and 60% storytelling for that version. Good question.
Another question in the chat from Mavi. So would this hybrid version be still applicable and effective for re-envisioning a previous project? For example, when there might not be an actual opportunity to rerun the data collection, etc., with existing
Right.
data.
Yeah, I think bringing in a previous project would be an excellent idea. In fact, I can think of a lot of projects I would like to redo with another lens, with a storytelling lens. So it would be excellent because then you would have the data already and a head start on it. So it would be a great way to come in.
Siobhan is asking for rescheduling. Do you have a sense of how many hours roughly the asynchronous, how many hours are asynchronous in the hybrid version?
I think that's a question for you, Michelle, or
Yes,
Evelyn. Yeah.
you're right. It is a question for me. About 3 hours a week. So that is 12-ish hours in total for the asynchronous version, and then 2 days in person. And Nikita is asking, is the in-person session better for someone who doesn't know technical tools like Python?
Yeah, especially because we won't be teaching Python in particular in the hybrid version of it. If you want to learn Python and start getting familiar with Python for urban applications, the in-person 5-day version in Toronto would be a good way to get your toes wet. And I mean there'll be a little we're expecting to do less of technical coaching in the asynchronous version, although we'll give you resources, for instance, how if basic GIS, QGIS resources that you can use in that version.
There are 2 more questions coming in. Kadla, and I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, is asking, could you expand on the asynchronous content / approach?
Okay, in the hybrid version, there will be four weeks of classes roughly that is really designed to make sure you're ready for the intensive 2-day dive into your data story. So that means we'll start out and figure out what you want to analyze and get you rolling on your data right away. So you'll want to dive in, have data ready to go, basically, and start to work on different ways of presenting it, different ways of visualizing it, all by the second or third week. And we'll be integrating the story. There's some basic ideas about how you want to tell your story around that time as well, and then revisiting your data to make sure that you're telling your story that you want. So it gives you a little bit of time to get your data in shape, and then you will come in person in Toronto and get feedback on it and pilot it with the group, and see how your story is working, refine any data analysis at that point. So, but a lot of the work you'll be doing at home in the month of May.
And another question about the in-person version. So Omar is asking, will you teach Python from scratch, or will there be an expectation of minimum familiarity and focus more on the data processing part?
That's, so we're expecting to be basically teaching it from scratch, like here's how you download it onto your computer. That's how we've done it in the past. If it may be that we have people at a variety of technical levels, in which case we might do first, for one group, we might do from scratch, and another we might kind of start at a slightly higher level. And yeah, but basically we've designed the class so far to be accessible to somebody who's never touched Python before. It's actually possible to learn Python in a day, and well enough to do some basic visualizations. I did it years ago. Other questions? I see we're starting to lose people. So we should wrap up. So, okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. Are you, Michelle?
Nope.
Okay.
If you have any questions at any point, contact us at info@equitabledev.org and we are or book a one-on-one.